Welcome back to the show, everyone. It's Dina Kalmeta here. And for today's news, I'd like to start with this first report from Harbinger Daily. And the headline reads, "With each passing day, the words of biblical prophecy come more clearly into focus." Although Jesus' command for us to watch for his coming applies to all ages of church history, the closer we get to the time of his appearing, the better we understand Bible prophecy. There's always been a future reward for believers who long for his appearing in 2 Timothy 4:8, but there's something about today that enables us to see the end with greater clarity. The words of Daniel chapter 12 verse 4 speak to the current unfolding drama of the last days. "But you, Daniel, shut up the words and seal the book until the time of the end. Many shall run to and fro, and knowledge shall increase." The prediction that knowledge shall increase refers to a surge in our understanding of Bible prophecy, such as we have seen during the past several decades. A few verses later, the Lord confirms the latter-day expansion in our awareness when he told Daniel that the words of his prophecy would be sealed until the time of the end. Daniel 12:9. Like the cutting away of layers of an onion, we have seen an unfolding of world events that have not only confirmed the nearness of the tribulation, but also the rapture, and has better enabled us to understand the fulfillment of events during the tribulation. But here are some examples of end-time events that continue to grow. Mind-boggling advances in technology. Now with AI, the development of gigantic databases, the internet, and emerging worldwide connectivity, and the technology of the mark of the beast is already here. Not only that, but the globalists have plans to mandate control of all commerce through a worldwide central bank digital system, which I've reported on. By the middle of the tribulation, the beast will be able to dictate the conditions for all buying and selling, and then mandate compliance with just a flip of a switch. Preparations for the beast empire, although in the works for well over a century. During the past decade, the globalists have become more open about their plans to implement a one-world government. Once regarded as a crazy conspiracy theory, we know that world domination is clearly the goal of the World Economic Forum and the UN. It's not even a matter of speculation, though some refuse to see it. Because the restrainer is keeping the Antichrist identity unknown until after the rapture, it necessitates the existence of a group of elite power brokers setting the stage for the Antichrist rule. The globalists are performing the necessary preliminary work that will later allow the beast to rise to power all over the world in a relatively short amount of time. Another example is Israel's nonstop wars as preparation for the beast's covenant. Since 1948, the surrounding nations have repeatedly attacked Israel, seeking to destroy it. The ongoing conflict with Hamas and Iran's threats of annihilation are already conditioning Israel's leaders to accept the future peace covenant, in which the Antichrist will offer to them, Daniel 9:27. Unfortunately, the people will trust the Antichrist rather than God for their protection, and we find that in Isaiah chapter 28, verses 14 through 18. Another sign, an easily deceived populace. Jesus spoke about the deception that will lead many astray during the last half of the tribulation, Matthew 24:24. In Revelation 13:11 through 15, John wrote about how people will fall under the spell of the beast, who will deceive many with his great signs. The widespread deception and gaslighting of our day not only points to the nearness of the tribulation, but is also a preparation for it. The majority of those left behind at the rapture will suddenly transition from discerning people to those whom the beast will easily deceive. They will fall for his devices because they have already rejected the truth and thus possess the debased mind that Paul wrote about in Romans chapter 1, 28 through 32. And of course we see lawlessness. Paul described the coming beast as a man of lawlessness and wrote that the mystery of lawlessness is already at work. 2 Thessalonians chapter 2 verses 3 and 7. But just 20 years ago, who would have imagined what we see today on the streets and throughout governments? Not only does this tell us that the tribulation is ever so close, but it also displays the conditioning of people to the insane degree of anarchy during the tribulation. And there are many, many more signs that we bring you here on CWW7 News that points to the close tribulation, but ever so close, of the rapture. Now, of course, nobody knows the days or the times, but we can certainly watch for the signs. And so let's go deeper and talk about some of those signs today, just in our daily headlines. False prophets. Prophecy Recon's reporting that Abdullah Hashim Abba al-Sadiq, an Egyptian-American religious figure, has proclaimed himself as the Mahdi, the awaited redeemer in the Islamic religion, and the established religion of peace and light. This movement, rooted in the Twelver Shia Islam, asserts that this man, the riser of the family of Muhammad, and the second of 12 Mahdis named in the will of Prophet Muhammad. The group's website promotes his teachings and calls for global allegiance, claiming that his emergence fulfills end times prophecies. Such claims warrant caution. Jesus himself warned of false prophets, stating that watch out for false prophets. They come to you in sheep's clothing, but inwardly they are ferocious wolves. Matthew chapter 7 verse 15. He further emphasized that many false prophets will appear and deceive many people. Matthew 24:11. And we are seeing this man rise. I actually listened to an Instagram post of him speaking. And also, just an FYI, End Times Headlines did report on this, Ricky Scaparo. So go over there and visit him. He did a whole podcast on it. But this man, he is saying that he is the successor of the Comforter, Admid, the successor of Simon Peter, the successor of Muhammad, the successor of Jesus Christ. He says that he is a true and legitimate pope and proof upon the Christians that he is the son of the Muslims through his father and the son of the Christians and Jews through his mother. He said, now, O Christians, in the east and in the west, hear me and obey. I am the messenger sent to you from Jesus Christ. Paul is false and leads you astray. The church is corrupt and no longer upholds the law of God, nor does it defend the oppressed. The papacy has been stolen, and the rightful heir has been pushed aside. There is no one else, he says, but me, that you are obliged to obey. May God be a witness that I have proclaimed. So obviously, this guy is a false prophet. Jesus said that his sheep would know his voice. Jesus also warned us about false prophets, as I just read to you in those scriptures. But could there be a possibility that he's the Antichrist? I want to say no. I still believe that the Antichrist will come out as a political figure. After the rapture, he'll be made known. But again, this fulfills prophecy because he is indeed a false prophet. With that being said, what is happening with Iran? Well, the Times of Israel is reporting that Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu called on Sunday for Iran's entire nuclear infrastructure to be dismantled, as talks between the U.S. and Iran appeared to move in a positive direction following a third round of indirect negotiations over the weekend. Netanyahu also specified that Iran must not be allowed to enrich uranium or even to retain the capacity to do so, and told a conference that he had presented his position on the matter to President Trump and was in close contact with the U.S. on the subject. It was unclear, however, exactly how much of Netanyahu's position aligns with that of the U.S., but speaking to reporters also on Sunday, President Trump did not appear to share his concerns. He said on the Iran situation, I think we're doing very well. I think a deal is going to be made there, and it's going to happen. Pretty sure, he said, it's going to happen. Now, Reuters is reporting, as well as many other sources, that Iran says that they are extremely cautious on success of nuclear talks with the United States. But they did agree to continue nuclear talks next week. So, very interesting. I guess we're just going to have to wait another week to see what happens and if there is an announcement of a renewed agreement with Iran in the U.S. In other news, the Bulusan volcano has erupted, triggering pyroclastic flow in a province in the Philippines. The eruption occurred on April 28th, generating a 4.5 kilometer or 1,600 feet high ash plume, resulting in ashfall over nearby communities. In the meantime, a 6.3 earthquake in Ecuador has damaged over 800 buildings, destroyed at least 179, and injured 32 people. These earthquakes are getting larger and larger, you guys. And Jesus said himself that we would see earthquakes in diverse places. Over in Nebraska, more than 10 tornadoes were reported across the state on Sunday, April 27th, with reports coming in from Cherry, Grant, and Garden counties. The severe weather event also produced large hail, damaging winds, resulting in widespread damage to infrastructure and property. A powerful tornado measuring over 1 mile wide derailed approximately 130 rail cars near mile marker 132 along Highway 2 west of Ashby. That would be a scary situation. More and more catastrophic weather slamming into our planet. That wasn't the only place that saw 10 tornadoes. Severe weather swept across the central United States, spawning over 16 tornadoes in 6 states, with 10 reported in Texas alone. Large hail over 11 centimeters or 4.5 inches was also reported in multiple areas as the storms passed over the central and southern plains. 2 tornadoes were reported in Oklahoma and 1 each in Colorado, Louisiana, Iowa, and Nebraska, as I just mentioned. And more volcanoes. A red alert was issued for the Payos Volcano National Park in Costa Rica on Wednesday last week after a series of eruptions produced ash plumes reaching up to 15,000 feet above the crater. Ashfall was reported in several surrounding areas, prompting orange alerts. In other news, Spain and Portugal have been hit by a major power blackout that has caused widespread disruptions at airports, train stations, and metro systems, has seen traffic lights fail, and has disrupted communication networks. The Portuguese energy company REN said it was impossible to predict when power could be restored, while the head of Spain's electricity grid operator said it could take between 6 to 10 hours. There has been no explanation for the power outages that have been reported, blaming a rare atmospheric phenomenon causing a fault in Spain's grid sparked by extreme temperature variations. Spanish radio stations said that part of the Madrid underground was being evacuated while there were large traffic jams in Madrid city center as traffic lights stopped working. Some supermarkets are also reportedly imposing limits on how much water their customers can buy as the power outage continues. At the timing of this report, power has been recovered in substations in several areas, according to a grid operator in Spain. So, very interesting news here and kind of concerning, you guys, for the simple fact that they don't know how this was caused. What triggered this blackout? But I'm sure we're going to find out sooner or later. But definitely a concerning situation over there. Because you know what, you guys, here in the US, our power grid is not exactly the best. It's very old. The same thing can happen here. But as always, I'll continue to keep you updated. The Watchers is reporting that a very bright fireball exploded in the sky over southern Brazil on April 23rd. The event lasted over 7 seconds, ending with a bright flash and loud boom. More falling rocks from the sky. And what are UK scientists up to? Well, apparently British scientists could experiment with techniques to block sunlight as part of a $50 million government-funded scheme to combat global warming. The geoengineering project is set to be given the go-ahead within weeks and could see scientists explore techniques including launching clouds of reflective particles into the atmosphere or using seawater sprays to make clouds brighter. Now, I just brought you guys a report last Wednesday, and we know from Bible prophecy that the sun is going to get much, much, much hotter. So hot that eventually it's going to scorch people. So I don't think that this experiment is going to work, but could cause actually more damage. And it's not safe. The hottest part of the sun in its core tops temperatures at 27 million degrees or 15 million degrees Celsius. But the sun's surface is relatively cooler, about 10,000 degrees Fahrenheit. So I'm not sure how they're going to make this work, but it's definitely a dangerous project. In other Bible prophecy news, a toxic algae bloom is being linked to marine animals stranding along Southern California coast. More than 50 dead and dying dolphins have been found along beaches in Los Angeles County over the past week. Other marine animals, including sea lions, mink whales, and gray whales, have also been affected. The toxic algae bloom, described by experts, is the most severe dolphin stranding linked to toxic bloom ever recorded along the Southern California coast. Additionally, this marks the 4th consecutive year with an algae bloom affecting Southern California's marine life. And again, we go back to the prophecy in Hosea chapter 4, verses 1 through 3, where God says that he will take away the beasts of the field, the fowls of the air, and the fishes of the sea due to the increased sin on this planet. So another fulfillment of prophecy. The president announced on Sunday that he is bringing back Columbus Day from the ashes. The Democrats did everything possible to destroy Christopher Columbus, his reputation, and all the Italians that love him so much. They tore down his statues and put up nothing but woke, or even worse, nothing at all. Well, he said on his Truth Social, you'll be happy to know that Christopher is going to make a major comeback. I am hereby reinstating Columbus Day under the same rules, dates, and locations as it has had for all the many decades before. So what do you think, you guys? Should he bring back Columbus Day? Let me know in the comments. Fox News is reporting that a Wisconsin judge is threatening not to hold court in protest of federal authorities arresting her fellow judge Hannah Dugan last week. Judge Monica Isham made the announcement in an email to judges across the state on Saturday. Her email titled, "Guidance Requested or I Refuse to Hold Court." She made clear she had no intention of working with immigration and customs enforcement. She said, if there is no guidance for us and no support for us, I will refuse to hold court in Branch 2 in Sawyer County. I will not put myself or my staff who may feel compelled to help me or my community in harm's way. I have no intention of allowing anyone to be taken out of my courtroom by ICE and sent to a concentration camp, especially without due process, as both of the constitutions we swore to support require should I start raising bail money. If this costs me my job or gets me arrested, then at least I know I did the right thing, she said. Assistant General Attorney for the Civil Rights, Harmit Dillon, reacted to her ultimatum on social media, saying the threat was problematic. Dugan was arrested and charged with obstruction of an official proceeding on Friday after evidence came to light that she had shielded a migrant from ICE agents. According to a criminal complaint, she was also charged with concealing an individual to prevent discovery and arrest. They arrested her right out of the courtroom, you guys. So very interesting developments here. And again, tell me what you think. Leave your comments below. Breitbart News is reporting that a commencement date for the conclave to elect a successor to late Pope Francis was announced today on Monday. Wednesday, May 7th has been confirmed as a starting point for the ritual open election to decide who will succeed Francis after his 12-year reign. So very interesting. The Catholics can have a new pope relatively soon. Some are saying that this could be the last pope. So those are your headlines for today. Thank you everybody for watching. Please do come and visit us on our social media sites, as well as our website at www.cww7news.com. Have a wonderful day, you guys. And until tomorrow, God bless and stay safe.